Part 7. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 61. About 10 miles away from the Hongduan Mountains, there is a market called Lingshanfang, where cultivators gather, and it is very lively. It is one of the few markets with sect shops. At noon, a purple spirit boat came from afar. Everyone was guessing. Which sect was it that was so troublesome to use the spirit boat to come? As the spirit boat approached, the word Zhang on the boat came into everyone's sight. Zhang family. Fengling Zhang family, a cultivator exclaimed. After this, the cultivators no longer dared to look around and buried their heads. Soon, the spirit boat stopped outside the market, and Zhang Chen arrived surrounded by a group of younger brothers. Master Zhufeng is in front, you guys should give way quickly. You are uneducated, right? I told you to get out of here. Oh, you dare to stare at me? Do you believe I will dig out your eyes? Master, he said bad things about you. I heard it. The younger brothers were fierce and ferocious. Whether they were cultivators of the lower four realms or cultivators of the higher Yuandan realm, they dared to speak ill of them because they had Zhang Chen's support. If anyone dared to speak out against them, they would pull them out of the crowd and beat them up. There was a righteous man who couldn't stand the actions of Lu Wen and others. He thought he had a higher level of cultivation, so he was ready to insult them. But before he could say anything, he was covered by his companions. That's the young master of the Zhang family in the upper domain. The master of Zhufeng of the Juyan sect in the middle domain. Do you want to live? The companions were already pale. It can be seen that the Zhang family's reputation is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Seeing the fear of others, Zhang Chen smiled with satisfaction. 9 reincarnations repeated, in order to change others' ideas about him, he has been keeping a low profile, but in return, others have been asking for more. Sure enough, it was still this comfortable. Juyan sect did not set up a store in Lingshanfang, so Zhang Chen planned to walk around the market first, and then return to the spirit boat when he had a rest. He had been here many times, so he was naturally familiar with the road. He led a group of younger brothers through the main road of the market, and then soon came to the arena in the center. Where there are cultivators, there are fights. In order to maintain the operation of the market, this arena was set up by the owner of Lingshanfang to resolve disputes between cultivators. Looked in a pleasing way. There were still crowds of people around, and on the empty arena, a girl sat on the edge. She was wearing a green dress, with both hands on the table, her fingers were as slender as tender catkins, a green bell tied to her wrist, and her feet dangling in the air swung back and forth. She had bright eyes and kept looking around, with 2 dimples in her smile. Zhang Chen was a little absent-minded as he looked at the girl from a distance. Compared to other brothers and sisters, his feelings for Qingning were extremely complicated. Because when he was trapped in the 9 reincarnations and in pain, the trust and smile of the young Qingning had saved his heart many times. From the time Qingning joined the Juyan sect to the time when the two of them turned against each other, for Qingning, it might have been only 6 years. But for Zhang Chen, it was decades. For decades, he had always treated Qingning as his own sister. He wanted her to grow up, because he, the eldest brother, was hated by the world and could not take care of Qingning for a lifetime. He didn't want her to grow up, because the way Qingning grew up in each life caused great harm to the two of them. Elder brother, Qingning will smile at you often in the future. In the 9th life, the words of the young Qingning floated in his ears. Zhang Chen closed his eyes slightly and sighed softly. Although the result was the same, it was undeniable. In that life, he was basically disheartened. If there was no Qingning, he would probably not have persisted. Perhaps that's why, even though he was completely rotten in this life, he didn't throw away the small wooden sword given by Qingning. But it didn't make any sense. After all, he didn't throw it away, but there were still disciples from Zhifeng who swore that they saw the small wooden sword in the toilet. Qingning, who had completely lost trust in him, naturally didn't doubt it. Shaking his head to dispel the messy thoughts in his mind, Zhang Chen walked slowly towards Qingning. It happened that Qingning was looking in other directions at this time. Zhang Chen smiled sinisterly and walked forward, quietly touched her back, and then patted her shoulder. Qingning's delicate body trembled and turned her head quickly. "Oh, isn't this my third sister?" After the two looked at each other, Zhang Chen smiled evilly, stretched out his index finger and lifted Qingning's chin, and said, "It's been a long time since we last met, Qingning, come and smile for the senior brother." Qingning didn't reply, but just stared at Zhang Chen blankly. She was lost. In those bright eyes, it seemed that there was an indescribable emotion suppressed, ready to erupt at any time. "This reaction is wrong, are you scared by me?" Zhang Chen blinked blankly. According to the experience of 9 lifetimes, shouldn't Qingning immediately knock her hand away and run far away in an instant? "Look, what are you looking at?" Zhang Chen's face was serious. "Believe it or not, I will beat you up." Qingning still looked at him. Although she didn't reply, she had already clenched her fingers tightly, and her delicate body began to tremble constantly. "That's right. Scare you to death." Zhang Chen smiled with satisfaction. With his right hand spread out, he said in an irrefutable tone, "Third junior sister, what good things do you have this time to give to me, the senior brother?" Qingning finally spoke. But she had just said one word when tears burst out of her eyes and wet her cheeks in an instant. The tears seemed endless. She raised her hand to wipe the tears that had flowed out, and new tears rolled down again. "Not me." Qingning buried her head and sped up the wiping speed. She wanted to laugh, because just now the senior brother wanted to see her smile. But why? Why can't she laugh at all at this moment? "What are you?" After being stunned for a moment, Zhang Chen was still aggressive. "Don't tell me no. You also know that I have a bad temper, senior brother. If you are unhappy, I will throw you into the Hongduan mountains to feed the Demon King." "What does senior brother want?" Qingning finally said a complete sentence. This." Zhang Chen was speechless. He really didn't want anything, he was just bullying the poor junior sister as the villain's senior brother. But he really didn't expect that Qingning would actually be willing to give him something. After thinking for a long time, he finally had to reply, "I want whatever you have." "Real?" Qingning suddenly stopped crying and raised her pear-shaped face. "Of course," Zhang Chen nodded. Hey. Qingning finally laughed. After a brief pause, her voice was still choked with sobs. "Then, do you want me?" I want a fart." Zhang Chen jumped up in shock. "What the hell?" He looked at Qingning, who was laughing and crying at the same time, and was stunned. This plot is wrong. He wanted to ask Qingning right now. "You see clearly. What's in front of you is the villain's senior brother. What does wanting you mean? If I really want it, will you really give it to me? Etc." Zhang Chen was shocked again. Squatting down, he stuck his head out and kept looking at Qingning's cheek. He raised his hand and touched Qingning's forehead, then pinched the latter's face. Until Qingning's face turned slightly red after being stared at by him, and the crowd onlookers had expressions of disdain on their faces. "Are you crazy too?" Zhang Chen finally asked after a long time. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 62. It makes sense for Zhang Chen to think so. What he did just now was almost exactly the same as described in the original book. If everything goes according to the plot, Qingning will cry because of him, but she will never say such a word that is not in line with her character. So, Zhang Chen has reason to suspect that his third apprentice sister is also crazy. He was a little panicked for a moment. Zhang Lianyu is crazy, Lin Mubai is crazy. If Qingning is also crazy, then doesn't it mean the plot is broken? If the plot is broken, who knows if it will affect the ending? If so, how can he ascend? Stay calm, don't panic, Zhang Chen comforted himself in his heart. The task given to him by the system is to die in Lin Feng's hands at the end. Although the current situation is a bit troublesome, it is still under control. Anyway, as long as Lin Feng is not crazy, it's fine. Thinking about it, Zhang Chen suddenly felt his arms soften. Looking down, it turned out that Qingning took advantage of her daze and threw herself into his arms. Burying her head deep, Qingning choked and said, "Brother, don't worry, I'm not crazy. I've never been so clear as I am now." Zhang Chen's mouth twitched. The identification is complete, it is definitely a state of madness. Because Zhang Lianyu and Lin Mubai both said so. Fortunately, Qingning's madness is only manifested in language, unlike Zhang Lianyu who wants to bomb the sect when he disagrees with something, and Lin Mubai who wants to chop himself when his mind twitches. Now in her current state, maybe she can still promote the plot. "Qingning, where is Lin Feng?" Zhang Chen asked. Qingning shook her head. "I don't know," Zhang Chen was stunned. Qingning nodded again. She really didn't know. Who knows if Lin Feng is dead or escaped now? Looking back 9 lives, she has seen Zhang Chen trying to kill Lin Feng countless times, but not once was successful. Zhang Chen once directly used the power of the Zhang family to crush Lin Feng with overwhelming strength. But in the end, Lin Feng did not die, but instead brought about the dynasty, and the Zhang family was destroyed early. Zhang Chen once relied on the memory of several lifetimes to practice sword and refine pills, hoping to improve his own cultivation strength and avoid being slapped in the face by Lin Feng. But in the end, this world is suppressing him. No matter how he practices, before Lin Feng appears, he will definitely be abolished from his Yuandan and start all over again. After practicing sword for several lifetimes, even if he has enough sword comprehension in his mind, he can only reach the realm of sword comprehension before being expelled from the sect. Going up, it is like touching an impenetrable membrane, and it is impossible to break through. Refining pills is even more impossible. The 5th grade is the watershed of alchemists. If you want to continue to advance, in addition to having enough experience in alchemy, you also need to find the same level of alchemy fire. And luck is obviously not related to Zhang Chen. That's why 9 reincarnations repeat, no matter how he changes and tries, he can't change the ending. This is the son of destiny, the protagonist of the world. Everyone and everything is paving the way for his growth. Unless the whole world rejects Lin Feng, his position as the protagonist will be difficult to shake. Qingning is trying to exhaust Lin Feng's luck. She knows that as long as Lin Feng faces a life crisis, he will have an adventure or enlightenment, and then quickly become stronger. But this requires the consumption of luck. She, who also has luck, knows this very well. If one day, Lin Feng's luck is exhausted, maybe he can really be killed. Although Zhang Chen has tried in reincarnation and failed, if he can work harder to kill Lin Feng, there is still a possibility of success. On the other hand, Zhang Chen. He didn't know Qingning's thoughts, and he just felt a headache at this time. It's too difficult. After 9 reincarnations, he finally had the hope of ascending to leave this world. But now, not only is there a sign of collapse in the plot, but even the protagonist Lin Feng doesn't know where he has gone. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Chen decided to use a big move. "You guys, go find Lin Feng for me." Zhang Chen looked at the younger brothers who were pretending to be blind in the distance and said. "Lin Feng?" Lu Wen looked embarrassed. "We don't know what Lin Feng looks like." "No need to know," Zhang Chen sneered, "you just wander around in Lingshanfang and do whatever you need to do. As long as Lin Feng appears, he will definitely come to beat you up. Then you quickly tell me." Ah! The younger brothers were all confused. What kind of logic is this? Why would Lin Feng come to beat them up when he has no grudges against them? Why is Zhang Chen so sure? What they don't know is that this is the aura of the villain. When a villain does evil, he will inevitably attract the crusade of those who claim to be righteous people. Although Lu Wen and others are insignificant villains, as Zhang Chen's younger brothers, they still have the aura of villains. Therefore, as long as Lin Feng appears in Lingshanfang and they are doing evil, he will definitely show up to beat people up. Zhang Chen named this move, Lin Feng summoning technique. Although this move is convenient, it also has side effects. Because once used, it will not only attract Lin Feng, but also other righteous men. Not only will it cause unrest in the place, but there are also some useless brothers. If someone beats you up, you should run away immediately. Come to me. Do you understand? Don't stand there like a fool and keep talking nonsense, Zhang Chen reminded again. Lu Wen and others were still confused, but they nodded to show that they remembered. After being glared at by Zhang Chen again, they left reluctantly and acted according to the order. Pushing Qingning away, who was still hugging him tightly, Zhang Chen also planned to walk around in Lingshanfang. After all, as a villain, he had a higher chance of meeting Lin Feng. Why are you following me? Zhang Chen turned around after taking a few steps. Qingning just smiled. Zhang Chen was speechless and was too lazy to pay attention, so he walked ahead. Qingning saw this and hurriedly followed. The two were half a body apart. As they walked, Qingning suddenly moved a step and said happily, "Big brother, I stepped on your shadow. You lose." Huh, childish, Zhang Chen didn't even turn his head. Hearing this, Qingning was stunned. When she went back 9 lives, she often entertained herself like this when she accompanied Zhang Chen to travel all over the central region. But she had never heard Zhang Chen's response. Because Zhang Chen couldn't see her at all. At this moment, although Zhang Chen said she was childish, it gave her an unprecedented sense of reality. Sniffing, Qingning stopped following behind and went forward to hug Zhang Chen's arm. On the spacious main road, the two walked side by side, and bursts of words were heard. "Let go of me." "I won't." "Do you believe I will beat you?" "How? Is it like the spanking I gave you when I was young? Can you chat properly?" "Okay, then return my little wooden sword to me." "Return it back if you want, bah. I threw that thing into the toilet a long time ago." Hee. Look at you, laughing like a fool. No, you are crazy. If only crazy people can be with the eldest brother, then Qingning is crazy. I understand. Are you going to piss me off to death? And then elope with Lin Feng? No way, crying again. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 63. Zhang Chen's entry into the city made so much noise that the monks around him had already memorized his appearance. Although there was no younger brother following him at this moment, the monks would still avoid him wherever he went. While they tacitly made way for him, they would curse him in their hearts. Half an hour later, Zhang Chen's nose moved slightly and he smelled a scent of elixir. Following the direction of the scent, he finally stopped in front of a shop. Elixir Pavilion. Looking at the high-hanging plaque, Zhang Chen's eyes turned cold. This is the shop set up by Dan Gyuda in Lingshanfang. In the original work, Ma Wu and Lin Feng were the masterminds of the Zhang family's demise, and Dan Gyuda was an accomplice. Ma Wu and Dan Gyuda had a close relationship. The original work's description of this was very vague, and Zhang Chen only knew it after his first reincarnation. So, because Ma Wu was upright and hated evil, he was no different from the great elder of Dan Gyuda, so the two hit it off at first sight and became sworn brothers directly. The two righteous men did everything they could to Jiang Chen. Ma Wu, under the banner of high sounding, tried every means to drive Jiang Chen out of Juyan sect. In the end, due to various coincidences and efforts, he succeeded. But he also died. Died on the day Jiang Chen was expelled from the sect. After learning about this, Lin Feng and the great elder Dan Gyuda were extremely angry and began to implement the plan that Ma Wu had made before his death. They only waited for the death of the ancestor of the Zhang family, and Dan Gyuda would personally report the news to the dynasty. Jiang Chen still remembered the scene of more than 10,000 golden cavalry falling from the sky. In the 9 reincarnations, even if he wanted to be an upright senior brother, he wanted to kill Ma Wu in advance, and he succeeded. But the ending could not be changed. Because whether someone reported it or not, his expulsion from Juyan sect was only secondary, but once the ancestor of the Zhang family died, more than 10,000 golden cavalry would fall from the sky. To put it bluntly, Ma Wu is just a minor character. From the beginning to the end, the sharp blade hanging over the Zhang family has always been Huang Chao. And Huang Chao is naturally very concerned about the Zhang family's movements. This life is different from the previous lives. Even if Jiang Chen is in a bad state, he will not let the Zhang family get into trouble. With the help of the system, he can break through the suppression of this world on him. Even if his strength is not up to standard, if he can obtain some elixirs that can treat hidden injuries and prolong life through the system, the pillars of the Zhang family will not fall, so that Huang Chao will be cautious. Hu. Jiang Chen slowly exhaled a foul breath. Sooner or later, he will go to Huang Chao, and before ascending, he will definitely let the woman who is high above and self-proclaimed as the empress see what cruelty is. Looking at the Dan Pavilion, he was a little surprised. In terms of the degree of gathering of monks in Lingshanfang, this Dan Pavilion should welcome guests, but today, this Dan Pavilion is actually deserted, the door is half closed, and a thank you sign is hung high. Did they hear that I was here, so they planned to hide from the limelight, he couldn't help but think. But he quickly dismissed this idea. After all, whether it was the plot in the original work or the 9 reincarnations, when Lin Feng appeared, he would appear in this Lingshanfang, but Dan Pavilion had never closed its doors to visitors. Just when Jiang Chen was about to go in directly and smash things up, he saw several cultivators wearing Dan Gyuda's danfu, walking towards the distance. The leader was a young man with the cultivation level of Ren Yuan realm. Judging from the 6 golden patterns on the cuffs of the danfu, he should be a 6th grade Dan master. To be able to become a 6th grade Dan master at such a young age, it goes without saying that he must be a true disciple of Dan Gyuda. The young man came with 3 fellow disciples, all of whom were in the Yuan Dan realm. After seeing Jiang Chen at the door, the young man was stunned at first, and then ignored him and walked straight into the Dan Pavilion. Such a big scene, what happened in Dan Pavilion? Jiang Chen raised his hand to stop him from going, curiously asked. The young man did not reply, but his face darkened, and then he continued to pretend not to hear. Big brother is asking you a question. Xingning frowned beside him. Hearing this, the young man's expression turned from gloomy to bright, and he smiled. There is no big brother, but since it is a beautiful woman asking, then I will reveal some. Speaking of this, he paused, and said seriously, there is a Yuan realm elder and more than 10 lower 4 realm cultivators in Dan Pavilion in our section in a few days, all died. Beautiful. Which hero did it? Jiang Chen praised, very happy. He didn't have a good impression of Dan Gyuda, and the death of some people would only make him feel very happy. How did he die? Was he miserable? Tell me in detail, and there will be a reward, he said again. The corner of the young man's mouth twitched, but he still didn't reply. My big brother asked you to tell me in detail, Xingning urged. Originally, this matter should not be told to others, but Juyan sect and Dan Gyuda have a good relationship, so they are not outsiders. After thinking for a while, the young man said with some fear, "The news I received is that the disciples of our sect in Dan Pavilion disappeared one after another. The owner of Lingshanfang sent people to search for several days before finding out that they were all buried alive." Buried alive? Zhang Chen was stunned. For a cultivator, this way of death is not only miserable but also weird. After all, if you want to bury a cultivator alive to death, you must at least beat him severely, seal or abolish his cultivation. If you have the energy, wouldn't it be better to kill him directly? After killing someone, you have to dig a grave for him. I don't know if the murderer has a problem with his brain. Even if you want to torture him, there should be a simpler way. Sister Qingning, I guess the person who can do such a cruel thing must be a person in the devil's way. Maybe he is also a madman. You must be careful, after all, people in the devil's way like to destroy flowers with their hands. If you are afraid, you can come to me at any time and I will protect you, the young man said again. You know me, Qingning blinked. Of course, the young man's cheeks turned red. I have been to Julian's section. Qingning nodded and ignored him. Glancing at Zhang Chen with his peripheral vision, the young man seemed to want to say something, but in the end he just shook his head and left. But as soon as he took a step, Zhang Chen raised his hand to stop him. Zhang Chen, don't go too far. I've tolerated you for a long time, the young man was angry. I recalled it carefully just now, and found that I can't remember your name at all, and I don't even have any memory of you. Do you know what this means? Zhang Chen asked. What does it mean? The young man frowned. Mean. Before he finished speaking, Zhang Chen's eyes suddenly turned cold. Yuan Guang suddenly appeared on his right hand, his fingers spread out, and he grabbed the back of the young man's head with lightning speed. The young man was shocked and immediately prepared to resist. But being caught off guard and due to the alchemist's own lack of fighting ability, he ended up being a little slow. The powerful force coming from the back of his head made him lose his center of gravity in an instant, and he flew into the air. He could only watch the ground below, getting closer and closer to him. Then, hearing a bang sound, the young man hit the ground with his head first, and was directly pushed to the ground by Zhang Chen. Make a deep pit. Squatting down, Zhang Chen grabbed the young man's hair and lifted his head. Ignoring the blood oozing from the young man's forehead, he narrowed his eyes into a straight line and smiled. It means you are a scumbag who doesn't even deserve a name. And as a scumbag, how dare you ignore me? Although his head was buzzing, the young man still heard Zhang Chen's words. Scumbag. He is the true successor of Deng Yuda. Although it is the end. Ignore. Zhang Chen's bad reputation has long been spread among the sects in the central region. He knows that he can't afford to offend him, so if he doesn't ignore it, can he be as flattering as a dog like others? Besides, he has a name. Call John Doe. That's too much, Li Si was furious. Suddenly, Pillfire burst out from his 7 orifices and evolved into several fire snakes, instantly wrapping around Zhang Chen's arms. The hot breath instantly distorted the air around him. At this, Zhang Chen smiled disdainfully, still holding Li Si's head with his right hand, flipping his left hand, and a bloody sword appeared out of thin air. Squeeze the hilt of the sword lightly and pour your energy into it. Roar. The dragon's roar came from the flame-blooded dragon's sword, and the dragon's roar reached the ears, making everyone feel dizzy. Under its influence, the fire snake condensed with elixir fire retracted into the young man's body as if it had encountered a natural enemy. The best spiritual sword, Li Si cried out in shock. Zhang Chen remained silent, swung the spiritual sword in his hand, and after a flash of red light, he instantly cut off Li Si's right palm. The sword energy brought out also drew an extremely deep ravine on the ground. Ah! Li Si screamed instantly, and his voice echoed around him. You are so courageous that you dare to get close to my junior sister in front of me. He let go and patted Li Si on the shoulder, Zhang Chen stood up and said, I wanted to dig out your eyes and cut out your tongue, but I felt too dirty to do it myself. You should be glad that my little brother is not here, so you only lost one palm. How to say? You should be lucky today. The behavior conforms to the villain setting, reward, casting forward swing minus 50%. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 64. Lucky. Li Si felt an unprecedented humiliation. Driven by anger and pain, his facial features began to twist, and he was trembling with anger. Huh? You don't seem to agree with what I said, Zhang Chen's voice sounded. Hearing this, Li Si was frightened again. A real man can bend and stretch, he didn't want to really give his life here, so he had to grit his teeth and said, I agree very much. But your expression doesn't say so, Zhang Chen said again. Helplessly, Li Si had to suppress his anger, endure the severe pain, and squeeze out a smile very reluctantly. Although the smile is ugly, it's just for the sake of it, Zhang Chen nodded. After saying that, he looked to the side again, and asked the other Dangyuta disciples who had already been frightened and pale, you won't help him to get revenge? The Dangyuta disciples shook their heads in unison. When Zhang Chen suddenly took action, they had this idea. But when they saw the top-grade spirit sword, they all gave up. That was a top-grade spirit sword. One sword can kill them all in 1 second. What about you? Don't you want to catch me? Zhang Chen looked at the monks who had come a moment ago. These monks were dressed in uniform, and were obviously raised by the owner of Lingshanfang to maintain order. Let's go. Without any hesitation, the monk who led the group withdrew directly. Seeing this scene, the onlookers did not dare to stay any longer and dispersed immediately. Zhang Chen looked bored, squatted down again, and looked directly at Li Si. You, what else do you want to do? Li Si's voice was trembling. Nothing, I just found. Zhang Chen paused and said seriously, I still like your unruly look just now. I will remember to restore it next time I see you. Li Si almost fainted from anger. Without wasting any more time, Zhang Chen turned and left. Qingning did not follow immediately, but squatted down beside Li Si, and then handed him a pill. What is this? Looking at the pill in front of him, Li Si was stunned. The 4th grade Qi and blood pill is for you. Take it quickly, don't die, Qingning replied. Li Si was so touched. He had heard that Qingning was kind and beautiful, and it really lived up to her reputation. If it wasn't for the time when he was touched, he could even cry. Trembling, Li Si stretched out his only hand and wanted to take the pill. But in an instant, he caught a glimpse of Zhang Chen who was looking back. He was frightened and shrank back in an instant. He just approached Qingning and one of his hands was cut off. If he really accepted Qingning's kindness at this time, who knows what Zhang Chen would do to him? Don't worry, I won't let you die like this, Qingning said seriously. It's the most difficult to accept the kindness of a beautiful woman. Li Si's nose was sour. He glanced at Zhang Chen again, and after seeing that he had walked away, he quickly took the pill and raised his head and said, Sister Qingning, take care. Don't let Zhang Chen take advantage of you, he is not. Li Si wanted to scold Zhang Chen as a non-human. But when the words came to his lips, he couldn't say any more. Because he saw. Qingning was laughing. Her smile was like a blooming white lotus, pure and lovely, confusing people's minds. But the problem was that at this moment, he was unrecognizable, and blood was sizzling out of his broken palm. Who could still laugh after seeing this scene? This woman, something is wrong. Li Si instantly got goosebumps all over his body, and felt a fear that went deep into his bones. Qingning ignored him, put down the elixir and chased Zhang Chen. After walking a few steps, she suddenly stopped, turned her head and smiled, my senior brother is very good, right? He is just too soft-hearted. Hearing this, Li Si instantly felt cold all over. A few hours later, on the spirit boat outside Lingshanfang, Zhang Chen was lying comfortably, while Qing Ning was jumping back and forth on the deck, with an extremely excited expression, as if she was riding a spirit boat for the first time. Glancing at her back, Zhang Chen threw a spiritual fruit into his mouth. Too careless. He felt that he was too careless. How could he think that Qing Ning was crazy just because of her temporary abnormality? Didn't she just laugh a little more and become closer to him, the senior brother? But these can only be considered abnormal at most, and are far from crazy. Although this plot is not written in the original book, he doesn't know what the situation is, but are there not many plots that are not in the original book so far? The more Zhang Chen thought about it, the more possible it seemed. After all, crazy people should be cruel and bloodthirsty. Even if they don't self-harm like Lin Mubai, they will never do anything to save people. Judging from the fact that Qing Ning gave Li Si the elixir just now, she is still kind. This also means that the possibility of her being crazy is very low. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen rubbed his temples and sighed. He felt that he must have been poisoned too deeply by Zhang Lianyu and Lin Mubai, so everyone looked like a madman. As he was thinking, it was already night. When Zhang Chen was about to rest, Qing Ning suddenly ran over, eyes shining, and said, "Big brother, it's late at night, let's do something exciting." Exciting? Zhang Chen was excited. How exciting? Is it the kind of thing that is very exciting, but a little tiring, and easy to sweat? Wow, big brother is so smart. Qing Ning clapped his hands. This. Zhang Chen hesitated. What if Qing Ning complained to Xiao Hong'ai afterwards? Wouldn't he be expelled from Juyan sect in a minute? At this time, Lin Feng hadn't even become a disciple, and he hadn't started to attract hatred. Besides, in the 9 reincarnations, he has always treated Qing Ning as his sister, and it is really hard for him to do it. He was caught in a struggle between heaven and man. Seeing that Zhang Chen did not respond, Qing Ning grabbed his hand and dragged him out of the spirit boat. This moment made Zhang Chen confused. Shouldn't he go inside the cabin? In a confused state, he was dragged out of the spirit boat by Qing Ning, and it took a lot of effort to bypass Lingshanfang, and then came to an open space. That's it. After looking around, Qing Ning nodded with satisfaction. That's it? Zhang Chen couldn't believe it. Yes, this place is good, no one will find it in a short time. But. No buts, since we are here, will the eldest brother regret it? Let me think about it. Don't think about it, time is limited. Hey, Qing Ning, you have learned bad things. Is there? After blinking blankly, Qing Ning gently stroked the spirit ring on her finger, and then threw an item to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen looked at the spiritual shovel in his hand, with a question mark on his face. Brother, you dig first, I'll be back soon. Don't worry, I have the soul-catching bell given by my master, it will be quick. After saying this, Qing Ning ran towards Lingshanfang. Not long after she left, Zhang Chen looked at the spiritual shovel in his hand, and then at the soil under the ground, and instantly thought of something. Sure enough. Just half an hour later, Qing Ning hummed a song and returned, and on her seemingly slender right hand, she was dragging a person. Zhang Chen looked closely and found that the person looked familiar. Wasn't it the Dangyuta disciple who was cut off by him in the daytime? At this moment, Li Si was covered with wounds, not only his eyes were dull but also his breath was disordered. Zhang Chen knew at a glance that he was obviously affected by the soul-catching bell and lost his mind, and his cultivation was abolished. Qing Ning was not talented and had a weak fighting power. Xiao Hong'ai was worried that she would be in danger outside, so she specially gave her this soul-sucking bell. Although it was of the highest grade, it was a mental attack, so it was difficult for ordinary Yuan Dan cultivators without spiritual consciousness to resist it. Brother, haven't you started digging yet? It's okay, Qingning will dig, you just watch from the side. After arriving, Qingning was still smiling. Zhang Chen was already confused, and just watched. Watching her dig a hole, then kicking Li Si in with one foot, and then filling the hole with shovels one after another. During this period, she seemed to be in a very good mood. Not only did she hum a little song, but she would occasionally tell Zhang Chen some interesting things, and then she would giggle happily alone. After a few minutes, a new grave was erected. Zhang Chen was so numb watching it. At this moment, he was sure and certain. His third sister, Zhufeng, and even the entire Zhuyan sect all agreed that Qingning, who was beautiful and kind-hearted, was absolutely crazy. And the degree of madness was probably even higher than Zhang Lianyu and Lin Mubai. Qingning, why bury him? Can't you just kill him? Zhang Chen wondered after coming to his senses. How can that be possible? Qingning patted her masterpiece and smiled. Let a person die slowly and alone in the dark, unable to struggle, and experience the feeling of despair carefully. This is the best punishment. Zhang Chen's mouth twitched, and the alarm bell in his heart rang loudly. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 65. In the middle of the Hongduan Mountains, in front of Lin Feng's grave. A white tiger squatted in front, staring at the grave in front of it, motionless. At this time, more than 10 days have passed since Qingning left, and it has almost been in this posture. Although it is a big monster, its tiger eyes have already shown obvious bloodshot after more than 10 days of mental tension. This Lin Feng should be dead, right? Xiaobai suddenly spoke in human language. Lin Feng is just a cultivator who has just completed his Yuan Dan. When his Yuan Li is exhausted, he has been pressed by the heavy purple blood soil for more than 10 days. Logically, the possibility of survival is very low. But it is still worried. After all, Lin Feng is the son of destiny, and it should not be so easy to kill him. But the problem is, a few days before Qingning left, there were indeed cultivators and big monsters attacking, and heavy rain fell from the sky, etc., trying to help Lin Feng escape. But in the past 10 days, since it brought a huge stone, polished it into a monument with its claws, and built a tombstone for Lin Feng, this situation has disappeared. Could it be that God was moved by my kindness, so he gave up Lin Feng? After frowning and thinking for a moment, it said to itself, why don't we dig it out and take a look? As soon as this thought came to mind, its tiger eyes widened, as if struck by lightning. This God is so insidious. It actually made it have such an idea. What if Lin Feng is not dead yet? Wouldn't it let him go? Raising the tiger claws and patting his chest, Xiaobai was still in shock. This God seems to be able to control its thinking. It's terrible. It kept reminding itself that it was a tiger that wanted to defy the heavens. In the future, it must be extremely careful, but it must not be fooled by the heavens. I don't know when Qingning will come back. Alas, it's so hard for me. Xiaobai sighed again. As soon as the voice fell, its eyes became firm again. Qingning helped it to defy the heavens, and now it doesn't know what kind of suffering it is facing. How can it sigh here? With a straight expression, Xiaobai continued to stare at the grave in front of him, and said firmly, "Humph. Want to eat me? I will exhaust you to death." Suddenly, its tiger ears moved. Rustle. There was a sound like flowing sand coming from the grave. What's going on? Xiaobai was shocked. It wanted to leave the grave to investigate, but was worried that this was another trick of God. Dilemma. Soon, it couldn't sit still anymore. Because with the increasingly obvious rustling sound, the grave in front of it actually showed signs of getting smaller. But even so, Xiaobai still didn't dare to dig the grave. It first circled the grave, and then looked up to the sky and let out a tiger roar. Roar. The tiger roar resounded all around, shaking the earth, and the strong wind it generated blew the trees swaying, and when it passed through the mountain stream, it brought out echoes. As the tiger roared, Xiaobai's body instantly grew several times larger. The tiger stripes on his body were like black lightning, spreading along his limbs. The gradually lengthened canine teeth stretched out from his mouth, forming huge fangs. Zizi. A sound similar to that of an electric current sounded, and it turned out that the black tiger stripes seemed to have life and swam on his body, bringing out flashes of black thunder in the air. It was just a moment. The originally cute white tiger now had pointed ears, narrow eyes, and then was stained with blood, with no pupils. The violent aura it exuded scared the little monsters within 100 miles of the mountain range to flee in panic, and the big monsters quickly restrained their breath. In this way, it looked like a prehistoric giant beast. It was ready to choose someone to devour at any time. "This is my strongest form. If you dare to come out, I will fight you to the death," Xiaobai said viciously, spewing out bursts of white mist from his mouth. "Anyway, it is impossible for it to dig graves." But after waiting for a while in this state, not only did the rustling sound disappear, but the grave mound that had just been gradually shrinking also stopped strangely. Xiaobai was a little confused. It raised its right palm, stretched out its sharp claws to poke the grave mound, and shouted, "Lin Feng, if you have the guts, come out and fight me." It was answered by silence. Xiaobai breathed a sigh of relief, and it said that if Lin Feng really jumped out, it would be scared to death. Suddenly, boom! A dull sound came from the grave mound. This directly startled Xiaobai and jumped up, and hurriedly said, "Lin Feng, if you have the guts, you can continue to lie in it." As soon as the voice fell, I saw that the grave mound in front of me seemed to be subjected to a strong suction force, and it quickly sank at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, there was another boom. The grave. It actually collapsed. It turned into a deep pit. Xiaobai was already stunned. After coming to its senses, it lowered its huge head to check. It seemed that there was a small hole in the deep pit, and the purple blood soil inside was falling into the hole. Judging from the traces left beside the hole, it was dug by someone with fingernails and sharp tools. This made Xiaobai's tiger whiskers on both sides tremble. It didn't understand. When Lin Feng was buried alive, his vitality was obviously exhausted. Even if he could recover slowly, he had to rely on his vitality to resist the weight of the purple blood soil. In this case, how did he manage to dig a hole and escape? Unable to figure it out, Xiaobai had to aim at the hole and shouted in disbelief, "Lin Feng, are you a rat?" The sound passed through the deep hole and entered a natural karst cave. The spiritual energy in the karst cave was rich and green. Occasionally, water stains would drip along the stalactites above and splash on the ground. "Lin Feng, are you a rat?" The echo kept ringing in the karst cave. Hearing this, a dark-skinned boy sitting cross-legged on a piece of jade in the depths of the cave slowly opened his eyes. "Humph, ignorant and stupid tiger," Lin Feng sneered. "Rat? Can a rat have such good luck as him? Often, there will be a treasure of the same level in the purple blood soil." When he was buried alive, Lin Feng thought he was going to die this time, but who knew that there was a 6th grade obsidian yuanqi under him. The biggest use of this stone is that it can quickly restore the vitality of Yuandan cultivators. Although the vitality was restored, the purple blood soil was too heavy, and Lin Feng had no way to break out of the ground, so he had to try to dig down. He first used his fingernails to dig a little bit, and when he could move, he used a black knife to dig. Fortunately, there was not much purple blood soil under him, and he dug out an escape passage in just a few days. And this passage happened to lead to the cave where he is now. In the cave, he found another 5th grade enlightenment jade. Sitting on the jade stone to practice, it only took a few days of practice to improve his cultivation, from the early stage of Yuandan to the middle stage. "Want to kill me?" Ask the sky first if it agrees, Lin Feng sneered. After saying that, seeing that the jade stone had dimmed, he jumped down directly, picked up the black knife beside him and prepared to go to Ling Shanfang. In addition to the breakthrough in cultivation this time, he also got some purple June blood soil, and needed to go to Ling Shanfang to find a weapon master to temper the black knife into a top-grade spiritual weapon. As for Qingning and the white tiger, he was not ready to take revenge for the time being. He was not afraid of Qingning, mainly because the silly tiger was a big monster and had ancient blood. If he confronted it head-on now, unless the old man Tianji got on top, there would be no chance of winning. Anyway, he was the son of destiny, and he would get back sooner or later, so there was no need to rush. I don't know if the sky agrees or not, I only know that the silly tiger was right. You really looked like a mouse when you were digging a hole. The ridicule of the old man Tianji sounded in his mind. You can't look at the surface of things, you have to look at the results. Not only did I escape, I also got a chance, Lin Feng retorted. The son of destiny digs holes like a mouse, are you proud? Proud. Can we change the subject? I don't want to hear the word mouse now. Okay, you were buried alive by a 16-year-old girl. She plotted against me. Before being buried alive, you asked the girl where are the bad guys. You said you wanted to protect her. I was deceived by her appearance. Before that, you swore to me that the girl had been conquered by you. Who knew she was so good at acting? I warned you that the most vicious woman's heart, you told me that a vicious woman would become a good wife and mother when she met you. Let's talk about mice. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 66. In order to prevent being discovered by Xiao Bai, Lin Feng restrained his aura and spent several days finally leaving the Hongduan mountains and arriving at Lingshanfang. Humph, what are you showing off? Isn't it a spirit boat? Lin Feng glanced at the conspicuous spirit boat in the distance and smiled disdainfully. Old man Tianji was not in the mood to pay attention to this, and just asked, what are your plans for the future? Of course I'm going to Juyin sect to become a disciple, Lin Feng replied instantly. Are you crazy? Old man Tianji was speechless. That Qingning girl is the true successor of Juyin sect. Aren't you afraid that he will bury you again? Tisk, tisk. Lin Feng shook his head and said confidently, Old man Tianji, there are many women in the lower realm who want my life, but what is the result? Aren't they all impressed by my charm in the end? That girl is different, she seems to be crazy. And she seems to know my existence, so she chose to bury you alive in Zijun blood and soil. Old man Tianji dissuaded me. Didn't you say that even the monks in the upper 4 realms couldn't notice your existence? This should be just a coincidence. Lin Feng shook his head and didn't care. Even if she is crazy, there is still a beautiful master and senior sister waiting for me in the Juyin section. Furthermore, didn't you say that Zhang Chen is my stepping stone? How could I let such an opportunity pass? On the way here, he was worried that Qingning would lie to him, so he asked several monks to inquire about the information about Juyin sect. Juyin sect is a first-class sect in the central region, and many people pay attention to it. In the end, the information he got was exactly what Qingning said. Old man Tianji was silent when he heard this. Leaving aside women, stepping stones are indeed necessary for the destiny of a child to grow and gain opportunities. If you give up because of some difficulties, it is indeed a bit of a sacrifice. But somehow, I feel that the secret seems to have changed a lot, he still reminded. In response, Lin Feng waved his hand and responded domineeringly, destiny is mine, and even if the destiny changes again, it will only add to my fun. That's right, destiny cannot be violated. Old man Tianji said no more. After glancing at the spirit boat in the distance, Lin Feng entered Lingshanfang. But as soon as he entered, he noticed something was wrong. When he came from the lower domain, the first place he arrived at was Lingshanfang. At that time, it could be said that it was crowded and crowded. But why today? The spacious main road was deserted, and the shops were all closed. Occasionally, a few monks appeared, but they only dared to take a step after looking left and right for a long time. Even the repairman who usually maintains order has disappeared. I feel like I'm going to show off, Lin Feng grinned. Old man Tianji agreed very much with this statement. Judging from past experience, the more contrary the situation, some people will take the initiative to come forward and slap Lin Feng in the face. The middle domain is different from the lower domain. Your cultivation level is not strong now, so you should ask for information first, old man Tianji suggested. Lin Feng had no objection. After looking around, he walked towards the shivering male monk in the alley. May I ask, what happened in Lingshanfang? Lin Feng stepped forward and asked. The sudden words startled the male cultivator. After seeing Lin Feng's appearance clearly, he breathed a sigh of relief. At first the male cultivator didn't want to talk to him, but he always felt that Lin Feng was very kind, so he said with a fearful look on his face, "Friend, you'd better leave Lingshanfang as soon as possible. A few days ago there was a demon who likes to bury people alive." The devil who buries people alive, Lin Feng was immediately shocked. He knew this without even thinking, it must be that madman Xingning. Not only that, the young master of the Zhang family is also doing evil everywhere, causing chaos in Lingshanfang, the male cultivator said again. The young master of the Zhang family. Lin Feng's eyes lit up again. What he likes most is to slap the so-called young master in the face. When he was in the lower domain, there were many young masters who sounded awesome and Hong Hong came to trouble him, but in the end, didn't he deal with them all? And the feeling of pleasure brought by slapping these young masters in the face is far more than that of slapping some passerby in the face. Does the master of Lingshanfang not care about these people who are doing such evil? Lin Feng asked curiously. Does he dare to take care of it? The male cultivator shook his head and said helplessly, that's the Feng Ling Zhang family. Just send any handyman out and they can flatten Lingshanfang. So strong? Lin Feng frowned. He suddenly thought of something and asked, is that person's name Zhang Chen? Senior brother Zhufeng of the Juyan sect. The male cultivator nodded when he heard this. That's it. Lin Feng felt relieved instantly. How could a person whose Yuan Dan had just been deposed be his opponent? He just didn't expect that this stepping stone would be delivered so quickly for him to step on. It's just that the Zhang family seems a bit strong. Don't worry, you are the son of destiny, and you will basically not encounter enemies beyond your strength. Old man Tianji comforted him. Lin Feng thought about it and had no worries. Ah! Suddenly, a female voice screamed. The male cultivator heard the sound and ran away. Lin Feng felt that the drama of a hero saving a beauty was about to be staged again, so he ran towards the sound with an excited look on his face. He came to the main road of Fangxi. I saw a pretty female cultivator not far away, being grabbed by the wrist by a burly man. She was so frightened that the female cultivator turned pale. Let go of that woman, Lin Feng immediately rushed forward with a knife. His appearance stunned both the burly man and the female cultivator. And that burly man was Zhang Chen's younger brother, Lu Wen. The female cultivator came to her senses first, took advantage of Lu Wen's daze, pulled away her wrist and quickly hid behind Lin Feng. You want to beat me? Lu Wen's tone was a little excited. Nonsense. What I hate most in my life is people like you who bully the weak and only bully women, Lin Feng sneered and said in a loud voice, if you have the guts, come at me. Your name is Lin Feng? Lu Wen asked again. This instantly made Lin Feng speechless. Why doesn't he know that he is so famous? Besides, according to past experience, shouldn't the bad guy in front of him be furious, and then rush over to kill him, and then be beaten away by him? But at this moment, He saw the excitement in the eyes of this bad guy that was difficult to hide. What the hell is this? What Lin Feng didn't know was, since receiving Zhang Chen's order, he and other brothers have been doing evil on the main road of this market every day, causing complaints. But with Zhang Chen as a backing, no one dared to control him. The only person who told him not to bully others and said he would beat him up was a little brat with a runny nose. Not only did he not know Lin Feng's appearance, he also didn't know Lin Feng's age. Although he thought it was unlikely, just in case, Lu Wen still picked up the brat and took him to see Zhang Chen. The result? Naturally, he was scolded by Zhang Chen. In this case, Lu Wen would naturally be very excited to see someone who finally suspiciously looked like Lin Feng. Since you have heard of my reputation, why don't you get out of here? Lin Feng said again. Okay. Lu Wen jumped up excitedly, and with the blessing of his vitality, he turned around and ran. He disappeared in an instant. Lin Feng was stunned. This shouldn't be like this. He just said some harsh words just now to show off his status. According to his experience in the lower domain, shouldn't the other party be even more angry and then take action directly? But why did he really run away? And he ran so fast? At this moment, he wanted to ask, are all the villains in the central region so cowardly? He hasn't even started to show his skills yet. Thank you, sir. Seeing this, the female cultivator behind him hurriedly advised, Sir, you should run away quickly. That person should go to find a young master of the Zhang family. Young master of the Zhang family, Lin Feng's eyes lit up again. Isn't this Zhang Chen? He felt that he was going to show off again. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 67. Spiritual boat outside Lingshanfang. Zhang Chen looked at Qingning, who was still lively and innocent, and fell into deep thought. Since he learned about Qingning's true face, he has actually been on guard. He was worried that this girl would go crazy and want to bury him alive. But something was a little strange. In recent days, Qingning's expression was extremely normal, and she no longer buried people alive. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it difficult to associate the girl in front of him with the devil in the rumors. Is her madness intermittent? Zhang Chen guessed secretly. Then, another question emerged in his mind. Zhang Lianyu, Lin Mubai, and Qingning went crazy one after another. These things were not written in the original book, and the 9 reincarnations never appeared. At first, Zhang Chen was just gloating, but now he thought that there might be a big problem. He closed his eyes and began to think carefully. Is madness really contagious? No. After all, Qingning has been outside the sect recently and has no contact with Zhang Lianyu and Lin Mubai. Carefully recall the situation before the 3 people went crazy. Suddenly, Zhang Chen opened his eyes suddenly and found a key point. Before Zhang Lianyu went crazy, he had peeped at her bathing. Zhang Lianyu was fine at the time of the incident, but when he reshaped the Yuandan and saw Zhang Lianyu again at the foot of Jufeng Mountain, Zhang Lianyu went crazy and wanted to blow up the sect. Before Lin Mubai went crazy, he beat him to bed for more than a month. Lin Mubai was still fine after waking up from a coma, but after he went to kindly comfort him, Lin Mubai went crazy that night. Burned thousands of books that he regarded as his life. Before Qingning went crazy, he cheated people of the Yulong Linko. Although Qingning was very sad at that time, he was fine after leaving the section, but after he came to Lingshanfang, Qingning also went crazy. He even learned to bury people alive. Everything, the source is pointing to himself. Although it seems impossible and unrealistic. But an incredible thought gradually emerged in Zhang Chen's mind. Could it be? I am poisonous. Zhang Chen was stunned. If this happened in previous lives, he would definitely not think so. But in this life, he has a system. What if the system adds a poisonous buff to him? Wherever he goes, people there will go crazy. Of course, a serious system will not do this, but his system itself is very bad. System, come out quickly. I need your explanation. This is your only chance to regain my trust. Zhang Chen called in his heart. The answer to him was silence, as if the system was playing dead. This made Zhang Chen irritable. If it is really as he thought, then it must be that the system is forcibly increasing the difficulty for him. After all, if he is really poisonous, wherever he goes, people will go crazy, then the plot will not collapse completely. What if it affects the ending? How can he ascend on the spot? If the mission fails, what if the reincarnation continues and repeats, then he will be finished? Zhang Chen quickly calmed down again. This matter was just his guess after all, and the possibility was not high. What if he misunderstood the system? The system, after all, still has to serve the host. Qingning. A shout suddenly sounded, waking Zhang Chen from his meditation. He just raised his head and saw a white shadow flash, and then there was a white tiger that looked a little stupid on the deck of the spirit boat. Humph! Zhang Chen snorted coldly and didn't bother to pay attention. He naturally knew that the white tiger in front of him was Qingning's contracted beast. The setting of this Xiaobai in the original work is a bit stupid, the kind of person who was sold and helped count money. In the 9 reincarnations, Zhang Chen didn't have a good impression of Xiaobai. Although Xiaobai didn't do anything excessive, he was always on guard against him. As long as he saw him, his hair would stand up and his teeth would be bared. The reason? In addition to wanting to prevent him from getting close to Qingning, the more important reason was that Lin Feng said, "Xiaobai, Zhang Chen actually wants to eat you." It was such a ridiculous lie, but Xiaobai believed it. In the original work, Xiaobai should actually be a female supporting role. But after the author gave up, the author who took over may have felt that there were too many women and it was too troublesome to write, so he wrote her to death early. The cause of death was also ridiculous. The transformation failed, the ancient blood in the body ran wild, and then exploded and died. Qingning, something big happened, Xiaobai said in panic after arriving. Before Qingning had time to reply, Zhang Chen complained, "Humph, stupid tiger. What did you say?" Xiaobai turned his head, his eyes flashing with ferocity. "I said, a stupid tiger will sooner or later kill himself." Zhang Chen was not afraid at all. "Qingning, can I eat him?" Xiaobai asked. "No, he is my senior brother," Qingning replied. "Senior brother? The one who wants to help me defy the heaven?" Xiaobai was shocked. It had heard Qingning talk about Zhang Chen's evil deeds, and originally had no good feelings towards Zhang Chen. But women are fickle. Therefore, it didn't know whether Qingning's words were sincere or angry because of a conflict with Zhang Chen. But there was one thing that Xiaobai was sure of. That was Qingning came to Zhang Chen just to help him go against the will of heaven. In other words, Zhang Chen was its benefactor. The next second, Xiaobai ran quickly towards Zhang Chen. When it was about to arrive, it braked again, then squatted down and raised its right paw. "I hope the senior brother can save me," Xiaobai said with tears in his eyes, with his right paw on Zhang Chen's shoulder. Zhang Chen had a question mark on his face. Why is this plot wrong again? When Xiaobai came just now, he thought he wanted to fight. "How to save?" Zhang Chen instinctively asked. "Big brother, please look up and tell me what you see." "I saw the head of a stupid tiger." "No, look up a little higher." "Sky." "Yes." Xiaobai was instantly excited, patted Zhang Chen's shoulder, and said in a sonorous and powerful tone, "I want to defy the sky. Big brother, please help me." Zhang Chen's mouth twitched. Stupid tiger wants to defy the sky. Funny, right? He has been against it for 9 generations and has not succeeded. Seeing the confusion on his face, Xiaobai explained carefully, "To be honest, there is a son of destiny named Lin Feng. He wants to eat me, and I am doing this to protect myself. Son of destiny? Lin Feng. Zhang Chen instantly understood that this stupid tiger was definitely deceived. Qingning buried Lin Feng alive to save me, and then I built a monument for him, Xiao Bai said again. What? Zhang Chen was shocked again. He turned his head to look at Qingning and asked, didn't you say you didn't know where Lin Feng was? I really don't know, Qingning blinked innocently. I have a feeling that he can escape, right Xiao Bai? Yes, Xiao Bai's ears drooped, and he was dejected, that Lin Feng actually dug a hole underground like a mouse and ran away. I searched for several days in the Hongduan mountains and couldn't find him. I could only rely on the induction of the contract to find Qingning. After saying that, it repeated, I even built a monument for him. Zhang Chen was speechless again. What kind of messed up plot is this? Do you want people to ascend? At this moment. Big brother, Lin Feng. Lin Feng is here to beat me up, Lu Wen's shout came from outside the spirit boat. Hearing this, Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. It's not easy. Finally there is a normal plot. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 68. Zhang Chen naturally wanted to find trouble with Lin Feng immediately. But he hesitated for a moment when he saw Xiao Bai with a silly look on his face and Qingning with a faint smile. After a little hesitation, he walked to a corner of the spirit boat and squatted down, waving to Xiao Bai and Qingning. Xiao Bai came over blankly and lay down. Qingning also came, sitting on Xiao Bai, blinking her eyes. How do you know that Lin Feng is the son of destiny? Zhang Chen asked. Qingning buried him alive with Zijun blood soil, but in an instant there was lightning and thunder, and heavy rain poured down. If Qingning hadn't opened the umbrella in time, Lin Feng would have run away long ago, Xiao Bai explained. I see, Zhang Chen suddenly realized, don't spread this matter. Why? Xiao Bai was puzzled. I told you you're stupid, but you still don't admit it. Zhang Chen patted Xiao Bai's head and glared, who dares to offend the son of destiny? If you spread this to everyone, won't everyone want to catch you and feed you to Lin Feng? So that's how it is, senior brother is really wise. Xiao Bai admired him very much. This made Zhang Chen breathe a sigh of relief. The identity of the son of destiny is too scary. It would be bad if he scared his younger brothers. After Lin Feng became a disciple of Zhu Yanzong, he still expected his younger brothers to attract hatred. Things like defying the heavens need to be done step by step, don't be impatient. I will go to find trouble with Lin Feng later. You two watch me operate, don't talk and don't mess around. Anyway, the most urgent task is to let Lin Feng successfully become a disciple of Zhu Yanzong, Zhang Chen said again. Why? This time it was Qingning who asked. It's easier to deal with him right under your nose. If you scare him away, will you go around the world to look for him? When Lin Feng joins Zhuyan sect and his essence and blood are recorded, it will be a matter of minutes to find out where he is. Zhang Chen rolled his eyes. Big brother, you are so sinister. But I like it, Xiao Bai covered his mouth and laughed. Big brother, I have a question. It raised its right paw again. Tell me. How long does it take to take the gradual approach you mentioned? About 100 years. So long. Are you stupid? Patting Xiao Bai's head again, Zhang Chen patiently explained, how can it be easy to go against the will of heaven? You need great perseverance. If you can't bear it, then go and fight Lin Feng now, and then let him eat you. Xiao Bai was instantly scared and immediately said that what he lacked the most was perseverance. Do you two remember what I said just now? Zhang Chen spoke again. Hearing this, the woman and the tiger both nodded. After getting up, Zhang Chen smiled with satisfaction. Going against the will of heaven? Whoever wants to go can go. In this life, he only wants to ascend. Leave this nonsense world. and the words just now were just to fool Qingning and Xiaobai. Qingning is crazy, and Xiaobai is a stupid tiger. What if the two really scare Linfeng away and don't go to Juyan sect to become a disciple? Wouldn't the plot be completely broken? For his own ascension plan, he had to be steady and fool these two crazy and stupid women. No, it's a woman and a tigress. As for the 100 years of defying the heaven, this is just a blank check he wrote. After all, he would have ascended 100 years later. What does the world have to do with him then? Sure enough, I am getting smarter and smarter. Zhang Chen admired himself a little. On the other hand, Xiaobai and Qingning. At this moment, Xiaobai was obviously impressed by Zhang Chen's wisdom, and his tiger eyes were full of admiration. It couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Qingning asked Zhang Chen for help. It turned out that the senior brother was really defying the heaven. Qingning still smiled, but a cold light flashed in her big eyes from time to time, and no one knew what she was thinking. Why hasn't he come yet? On the main road of the market, Linfeng held the black knife and murmured. At this time, several moments had passed since Lu Wen left. Although the time was not long, according to his previous experience, Zhang Chen should arrive in a few breaths at most. He first said, "You dare to touch my people," then he revealed his identity and boasted about how awesome he was, and finally the two of them started fighting. "Is Zhang Chen going to be scared?" Linfeng muttered. "It's not impossible," old man Tianji guessed. "After all, his lackeys are so scared, and dogs always follow their masters." Hearing this, Linfeng was like a deflated ball in an instant. He was already full of anger because he was buried alive by Qingning, and he was hoping to vent his anger while pretending to be cool. But who would have thought that this villain in the central region was so scared? "That, benefactor, can I go first?" The timid voice of the rescued female cultivator came from behind. "Wait a little longer," Linfeng replied. Now that the cultivators around him had all run away, he left the female cultivator here on purpose, just to have someone witness the highlight moment, and then be amazed and praise him for being awesome. Before he was sure that Zhang Chen was really scared, he would naturally not let the female cultivator leave first. Time passed, and a few moments passed. Just when Linfeng had completely lost his patience and was ready to leave. "Here they come," Tianji old man suddenly spoke. Hearing this, Linfeng was instantly overjoyed. But after he looked around, he didn't see even a ghost except the empty streets. "Up there," Tianji old man reminded. "Up there?" Linfeng was puzzled. But soon, he found that the light around him dimmed instantly, and he was shrouded by a huge shadow. Suddenly looking up, Linfeng was not feeling well. A purple spiritual boat was floating above his head, and the gun ports on both sides of it were all opened. At a glance, there were at least dozens of spiritual cannons. The next second, boom, boom. Dozens of thunder spiritual cannons rang, and thunder balls shot down from the sky. The thunder balls hit the main road of the market, and instantly blasted out huge deep pits. The flying sand and rocks caused by the explosion, before they could splash out, were instantly turned into nothingness under the influence of the aftermath. Then, the aftermath set off ripples in the air, spreading in all directions like water waves, destroying the magic array wherever it went, and collapsing houses, revealing many monks hiding in them, trembling. One thunder spiritual cannon can injure a monk who has just completed the Yuandan, let alone dozens of them. Linfeng was the first to be hit, and he immediately ran away with his head in his hands. But every time he arrived at a place, the thunder ball would explode in front of him, and he had no choice but to draw out the black knife to face it head on. Boom! Boom! Another round of volleys. At this time, Linfeng was in a mess, and many cracks appeared on the black knife in his hand. He never expected it. He didn't expect that Zhang Chen would not play by the rules. He actually used this kind of spiritual cannon specially used to fight against monsters. and there were dozens of them. He simply didn't treat others well. Glancing at the female cultivator who was already scared and crying, Lin Feng was even more angry. He kept the female cultivator here so that she could watch him show off, not to see him make a fool of himself. Seeing the thunder balls getting closer and closer to him, Lin Feng immediately shouted in his heart, "Old man Tianji, help me." Okay. Old man Tianji didn't hesitate at all. In an instant, a strong soul power poured into Lin Feng's body. With the blessing of the soul power, his breath suddenly surged, his eyes became deep, and he was in a mysterious aura. Shua. He swung the black knife in his hand fiercely, cutting out a 10-foot wide knife. The knife cut through the air and broke through the air. In just a moment, it passed through the thunder ball in the sky, causing the thunder ball to explode directly in the air. Haha, Lin Feng laughed loudly, "Zhang Chen. Although you don't play by the rules, what can you do to me?" As soon as the voice fell, I saw a red muzzle. The muzzle was larger than a water tank, and the body of the spiritual cannon was like a python, which was pushed out of the deck of the spiritual boat by several people. Not good. This is the sky-swallowing red python cannon. Old man Tianji was shocked. What do you mean? Is it very powerful? Lin Feng asked. Every time the sky-swallowing red python cannon is fired, thousands of high-grade spirit crystals are needed. This is not a spirit cannon used against cultivators, but a spirit cannon specially used to destroy the enemy's formation in the sect war. Just one shot can destroy this Lingshan Fang. The area within 100 miles will also be turned into scorched earth, Old man Tianji explained. He hurriedly urged, "Your cultivation is too low and you can't resist. Let go of all your mind and let me control your body. I will use my last soul power to take you away, otherwise you will have to die here today." Damn, Lin Feng cursed immediately, isn't this too exaggerated? Killing innocent people like this, isn't he afraid of the wrath of the dynasty? There is no point in saying more, my soul power will not last long, and I should escape now. Old man Tianji was anxious. Until the last moment, Lin Feng didn't like to be possessed. Because being possessed by an old man would make him feel uncomfortable, so he planned to see the situation before deciding. With the blessing of soul power, he was extremely alert, holding the black knife tightly, his muscles tensed, his eyes fixed on the muzzle of the red python, and his forehead was sweating unknowingly. Then, a few minutes later, the expected crisis did not come, but the soul power in his body became less and less until it disappeared completely. Not good, Lin Feng was shocked and realized something in an instant. Then, I saw a man in black jumping off the spirit boat and landing directly in front of him. "Junior brother Lin, senior brother is here to pick you up." Zhang Chen smiled coldly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 69. Lin Feng understood instantly that the man in black in front of him must be Zhang Chen. At this time, the soul power that blessed him had completely disappeared. He originally wanted to use his last trump card to let the old man Tianji get behind him and run away immediately, but Zhang Chen's words made him stunned again. Then his face turned black. Is this to pick me up? It's obvious that he wants to kill me. Lin Feng cursed in his heart. He felt that he was fooled, like a clown. At this moment, he even had the urge to let the old man Tianji get up and kill everyone. But in this way, the old man Tianji's soul power will be completely exhausted. If he wants to run again, it will be difficult. This is a desperate decision, and it cannot be chosen lightly. Seeing Lin Feng's expression, it was as ugly as eating shit, and Zhang Chen said he was very comfortable. He said no more, just stood there with a smile. This is Lin Feng's problem again. You say something. If you don't say anything, how can I know what you want to do? He didn't make any moves and ran away directly, which was really embarrassing. But if he acted rashly, he always felt that something was missing, and the atmosphere and emotions were not in place. After all, Zhang Chen's performance was completely different from those villains he had met before. Old man Tianji, what is the cultivation level of this Zhang Chen? Lin Feng asked in his heart. The middle stage of Ren Yuan. What? Didn't his Yuan Dan just get abolished? I have found several cultivators to verify this matter, and it is definitely not wrong. Or should we run away quickly? I feel that things are getting more and more wrong. What are you panicking about? According to my experience, this kind of young master is definitely a show-off even if his cultivation level is higher than mine. I can fight against him at a higher level. The silence of old man Tianji gave Lin Feng some confidence. He also imitated Zhang Chen and just stood there with a faint smile on his lips. It's not that he didn't want to talk, but he always felt that in this situation, whoever spoke first would lose his dignity instantly. The two looked at each other for several minutes. Then, you dare to hit my people? Zhang Chen's smile faded and he became angry. Here it comes. Here it comes. Lin Feng was overjoyed. He thought to himself, that's what it's like. Although he didn't have time to hit him at that time, Zhang Chen's little brother slipped away. But he was familiar with this scene. After a disdainful smile, Lin Feng said with a bit of domineering, "Humph, what if you move?" Before he finished speaking, Zhang Chen saw a blood sword in his hand, and behind him appeared an old swordsman with a fairy-like appearance. Then, he swung the blood sword and instantly cut out 100 feet of sword energy. The sword energy was as big as a towering mountain, and the power was so strong that it seemed to split the sky and the earth. Although the sword energy did not touch the ground, the aftermath alone caused the ground to crack rapidly, and in an instant it spread to the entire Lingshanfang. At the critical moment, Lin Feng relied on the old man Tianji to escape the attack. The sword energy of 100 feet brushed the hair on his head and instantly cut out a vacuum visible to the naked eye. After flying 100 miles, it slowly disappeared. And those monks who were already trembling with fear, came to their senses and found that the entire Lingshanfang was flattened by the sword energy. Especially the Fangzhou mansion in the distance, which was directly broken by the sword energy, and the smooth cut surface was still flashing with sword light. At this time, Lin Feng's body was controlled by the old man Tianji. His consciousness was suspended in his mind. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng felt terrified. If he was half a beat slower just now, he would definitely be cut in half. This is the ancient sword way. The old man Tianji was horrified. Lin Feng practiced the ancient skills, so he naturally knew a thing or two about the ancient swordsmanship. He would not doubt the vision of the old man Tianji, but he could not figure out how a Yuandan cultivator could learn the ancient swordsmanship. You need to know. It is difficult for even a cultivator of the upper four realms to comprehend a single move in his lifetime. At this moment, Lin Feng was completely panicked. It is unreasonable. Didn't his stepping stones always make him slap his face? But why did Zhang Chen almost scare him to death? The old man Tianji was also a little confused. He stared at Zhang Chen for a long time before he said in his heart, "This Zhang Chen is not right." "Do you need to say this?" Lin Feng complained. "It must be wrong. If it was right, he would have slapped his face long ago." "Didn't you say that this Zhang Chen is my stepping stone?" Lin Feng asked loudly. "That's absolutely right. He meets all the conditions for a stepping stone. But, for you now, this stepping stone seems too high." Lin Feng was speechless. It was indeed too high. Zhang Chen was obviously a villain and should like to talk big, but he immediately drove the spirit boat and bombarded him with dozens of spirit cannons. He even brought out the sky-swallowing red python cannon to scare him. Zhang Chen had just had his Yuan Dan abolished, but now he was in the middle stage of the Ren Yuan. Zhang Chen was obviously in the middle stage of the Ren Yuan, but he could comprehend the ancient swordsmanship. It almost cost him his life. All these proved it. The height of this stepping stone was so high that even if he jumped up at this moment, he couldn't reach it. What are you waiting for? Run away, Lin Feng urged. Although Zhang Chen seems to be running out of energy at the moment, who knows what tricks he has? To be on the safe side, it is natural to run away first. If you can't win, run away. Lin Feng is very familiar with this. Although it is embarrassing, he will get back at it sooner or later. But the old man Tianji didn't know what was wrong with him, and he stood there like a fool. You can't escape, look at the top of your head while speaking. The old man Tianji controlled Lin Feng's head to look up. Looking at it, Lin Feng was extremely shocked. Because there was an old man in a purple robe standing in the air high above the spirit boat. How strong is this old man? Lin Feng's voice began to tremble. Very strong. At least in the realm of supernatural power. Lin Feng was frightened and almost fainted. He guessed that the old man must be a cultivator of the upper four realms because he could walk in the air, but he didn't expect that he was in the realm of supernatural power of the upper four realms. The upper four realms are divided into initial glimpse, creation, supernatural power, and nirvana. The difference in strength of each realm is like a bottomless chasm. The initial glimpse and creation realms are okay, they cultivate themselves. But supernatural power and nirvana, what they cultivate is the perception of heaven and earth, and what they master is the power of heaven and earth. In the central region, this is definitely a rare existence. A complete ceiling. Many ancestors of the upper class sects are no more than this. Lin Feng is very clear. At this time, his cultivation is too weak. Even if the old man Tianji is on top, the combat power he shows can only barely touch the threshold of the upper four realms. In this case, there is no way to escape. At this time, we can only fight to the death. I captured this Zhang Chen as a threat, so that the old man will be afraid to act rashly. But, said the old man Tianji. But, the possibility of success is almost zero. The power possessed by the cultivators of the divine power realm is far beyond your imagination. These words made Lin Feng's heart tremble. At this moment, he felt that I am afraid he will die again. Zhang Chen, you and I have no grudges, and I have never attacked your little brother. Why don't we all take a step back and leave? Looking at Zhang Chen, the old man Tianji imitated Lin Feng's tone. Hearing this, Lin Feng was a little unhappy. After all, this sounded like admitting defeat. When he was in the lower domain, those villains also said that to him. But at this moment, he could only remember this humiliation and save his life first. Junior brother, you are joking. Zhang Chen smiled slightly. Junior brother, since you are going to join Juyan sect Zhifeng, how can I, as the eldest brother, bear a grudge? When he heard this, even the old man Tianji, who thought he was very cunning, couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He made such a big scene, and every move was fatal, but he said he didn't bear a grudge. It's so shameless. And the sword just now? Zhang Chen said again, it was just a slip of the hand. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 70. My hand slipped? What a sentence. My hand slipped. Old man Tianji and Lin Feng both felt extremely shameful and humiliated. The two finally understood at this moment. The Zhang Chen in front of him clearly wanted to play tricks on them. And have fun doing it. This type of person has no moral principles at all. Turning over someone is like turning over a book. Therefore, if you want to resolve the crisis, you can only fight to the death. The thought fell. Old man Tianji controlled Lin Feng's body and suddenly moved forward. His 5 fingers turned into claws, and a cold breath surged out from his fingertips, turning into a huge palm and grabbing Jiang Chen directly. Although the momentum was overwhelming and the speed was extremely fast, Jiang Chen's expression remained calm. Snort. A cold snort came from the sky. The sound shook the sky, and the huge palm broke instantly, turning into black mist and exploding. Tisk. The old man Tianji clicked his tongue, turned around and turned into a stream of light, rushing back, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Do you want to chase him? Seeing this, the old man's voice appeared in Jiang Chen's mind. Jiang Chen shook his head. Qing Ning jumped off the spirit boat on Xiaobai and planned to pursue him. No, he will go to Julian sect to become a disciple. Jiang Chen raised his hand to stop him. Why? Xiaobai was puzzled. Jiang Chen told them not to scare Lin Feng, because he was worried that Lin Feng would give up the idea of becoming a disciple of Julian sect, but Jiang Chen himself scared Lin Feng to pieces. At this moment, Jiang Chen was sure that Lin Feng would definitely go to Julian sect to become a disciple, but his words were obviously inconsistent. If it were you, you had such a big hatred against me, but you had a way of sneaking around under my nose, and I couldn't deal with you. Would you do it? Jiang Chen asked back. Xiaobai blinked his tiger eyes and said he didn't understand at all. Qing Ning understood. As everyone knows, Jiang Chen's reputation in Julian sect is extremely bad and makes people dislike him. Although Xiao Hong'ai was partial to him, she also punished him for his evil deeds many times. And within the Julian sect, he could not use the power of the Zhang family at will. In this case, becoming a disciple of Julian sect is naturally Lin Feng's best choice. After all, this move will not only protect him, but also make the entire Julian sect stand on his side to deal with Jiang Chen. To put it bluntly, I still can't bear it. Jiang Chen is the villain of destiny, and Lin Feng is the son of destiny. The two are complete opposites and hate each other. Qing Ning and Xiaobai buried Lin Feng alive, but he was not in a hurry to take revenge. But for Jiang Chen, a person who has the aura of a villain, if he can take revenge in a short time, he will definitely choose this way. Again, with Lin Feng's lustful character, he would definitely not give up on stunning beauties like Zhang Lianyu and Xiao Hong'ai. When will senior brother plan to turn back? Qing Ning suddenly asked. Let Lin Feng run around for a while and then go back when it's almost time, Jiang Chen replied. Can you wait for me for a few days? Where are you going? Hongduan Mountains. Okay, you can go in peace. I will definitely wait for you to come back. Thank you, senior brother. After saying this, Qing Ning rode Xiaobai away. Looking at her back, Jiang Chen smiled sinisterly. It was impossible to wait. Why should he wait for a madman? Although spending the recent time with Qing Ning gave him the illusion that he was back to when Qing Ning was a child. But he would not go out of his way to Qing Ning again just because of this incident. Repeated reincarnations for 9 lifetimes are too painful after all. Returning to Lingzhou, he immediately told Lu Wen and others, have a rest for 1 day, and we will return to the sect tomorrow. Lu Wen and others had no objections and did not dare to have any objections. They quickly drove the spirit boat and left Lingshanfang far away, planning to stop and rest 10 miles away. The reason for this is because today's Lingshanfang no longer has the bustling appearance it once had, with only a bunch of broken eaves and broken walls left. It looks like a ruin, and it's really hard to stand. Soon, the spirit boat drifted away. A middle-aged man with a fat head and big ears quietly poked his head out from behind the broken wall, and then let out a long sigh of relief. Looking forward to the stars, looking forward to the moon, he finally let Jiang Chen go. Ever since Jiang Chen came to Lingshanfang, he, the owner of the Lingshanfang, has been hiding at home every day, not daring to go out at all. He was worried that he would offend the Zhang family and bring disaster to himself. Who would have guessed? If people sit at home, disaster will come from heaven. He was talking about life with his concubine at home, but the sudden sword energy almost cut off his head. Looking around, seeing the tragic situation in Ling Shanfang, the middle-aged man looked distressed again. This Ling Shanfang is his hard work. But now, there is nothing left. He looked into the distance again and saw that the spirit boat had completely disappeared from sight. How brave! How dare you act recklessly in Ling Shanfang? The middle-aged man suddenly became angry. What about the young master of the Zhang family? Today, even if I die, I will touch you. After saying that, the middle-aged man pulled out his spiritual sword and prepared to rush out. He just took a step forward. Several monks rushed over, hugged him tightly, and shouted, "Business master, no. We know that boss is not afraid of power, but once he leaves, if he never comes back, then you'll never come back." The middle-aged man waved his hand. Only by sacrificing one's life and becoming a benevolent person can one be worthy of his conscience. The monks all twitched their mouths and were speechless for a moment. Who doesn't know that the master of Ling Shanfang regards his own life as more important than anything else? They were just acting together, but who would have thought that the boss actually acted it out? Helplessly, all the cultivators had no choice but to continue to follow the performance, crying until they died, and then they reluctantly stopped the middle-aged man's plan to sacrifice himself for charity. "Report this matter quickly," the middle-aged man said again. "Yes, sir." On the other side, the spirit boat slowly landed in a place surrounded by dense forests, but with flat terrain in the center. After flattering Zhang Chen a few times, Lu Wen worriedly said, "Big brother, we made such a big fuss, won't the owner of Ling Shanfang complain to the dynasty? If the Lord of Zhifeng learns about this, I'm afraid he will be furious again. What if he complains? At this time, the dynasty will not tear its face with the Zhang family for a mere market. As for the master..." Zhang Chen paused, his expression slightly gloomy. "If she wants to be angry, then she can be angry. If Lin Feng becomes a disciple, the plot will return to the right track. By then, it is only a matter of time for Xiao Hong'ai to be completely disappointed in him. However, in this life, before his cultivation is abolished, he will definitely leave on his own. After all, this time his strength is far from the previous 9 lives, and he doesn't want to start all over again. Moreover, he didn't want to see Xiao Hong'ai's eyes again. Big brother is still awesome. You have completely schemed against Lin Feng." Lu Wen noticed something and quickly changed the subject. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "After Lin Feng joins Juyan sect, he will definitely dislike you in various ways. Do you know what to do then?" "Yes," Lu Wen nodded, "I will beat him up then." "Bullshit," Zhang Chen cursed, "can you beat him up? Just run away after cursing. Do you understand?" I understand," Lu Wen scratched his head and said awkwardly, "We will do whatever Big Brother says." "But Big Brother, are you really sure that Lin Feng will join Juyan sect?" Of course Zhang Chen was extremely confident. After 9 reincarnations, he had already grasped Lin Feng's character. If it weren't for the help of God, he would have killed Lin Feng long ago. Of course, he was not 100% sure. After all, the plot of this life is a bit broken. 3 people have gone crazy one after another, and these 3 people are important characters who can affect the plot. Although Zhang Chen cannot predict the behavior of the madman and the impact on the plot is unknown, he is very sure. As long as Lin Feng does not meet these 3 madmen in succession, he will definitely become a disciple of Juyan sect. Although Lin Feng has met one, the possibility of meeting the other 2 in succession is undoubtedly very low. Thinking to this point, Zhang Chen suddenly had a bad premonition. He remembered Lin Mubai who was sharpening his knife in the dense forest. He also remembered the many huts repaired along the road, and the scene of Zhang Lianyu asking how to build the huts. Not that bad. He was a little uncertain again.